Are live with this week's, we kind of changed the name, but we're going to get into
When did we change the name to?
2 articles. We said it last week, connecting the dots.
Connecting the dots.
Connecting the dots. He brings in 2 articles that I don't know. I bring in 2 articles he doesn't know. We discuss it, and then we give our opinions on the actual reality of those articles instead of listening to what ChatGPT.
What if we brought in the same article?
Then we have collected consciousness. We are on the same wavelength. I'm going to start.
Good.
All right. So what are we talking about? Low inventory throughout the entire United States. Well, we're going to go global. We're going to go to a very, very high-end market of London. London's super luxury home sector is thriving even as overall sales sink. Sales volume for super luxury, which is £5 million. They don't use dollar. It's weird. But they use pounds. Luxury sector is up 26% annually and 58% pre-pandemic. Okay? That's crazy. All right? So it shows there is so much money in this marketplace. I'm going to continue on rentals. So we've seen it in rentals, how in New York City it's going through the roof, very high pricing, a lot of competition, a lot of applicants at the rentals. Annual luxury rental prices grew 8%. Obviously, they mentioned the low supply, and then new rental listings are down 12% annually and 54% down pre-pandemic. New rental listings are down 54%, so it's more than half the amount of rental listings available. So people are moving to cities. That's what I got out of it.
Well, I'll tell you something.
Or moving back to the cities.
I am very glad that I read this article yesterday because I read an article with an interview from the owner of Real Capital Analytics, and it was back in 2010. New York Times article where they were asking him about all of the data. And I was hoping that you were going to say London, because in this article, he said that London comes back first.
Wow.
London comes back and is then going to lead New York. And that's because it gets the foreign investment.
Yeah.
And what happened exactly after this article was written was that New York started booming right after London did. So I would say that this is a very good signal that New York City is hitting the bottom on the real estate market.
I think we already have.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, and the reason being is that if sellers don't want the pricing that the agent comes in with at the listing pitch, they're either not going to sell it or they're going to rent it out. So it's really the sellers who are controlling the inventory right now. They're like, listen, if I can't get the price, I'm not going to put it on the market. You go through calls all day. It's the exact same thing.
And here's the funniest part about that. Do you think when rates go down, which they're peaking right now, do you think that all of a sudden they're going to say, now I'll put my home on for a discount?
Yeah.
No. When rates start coming down, sellers aren't going to be like, oh, now I can list for a discount. You know, they'll be like, we waited it out. So right now we're probably hitting the peak interest rate, and, you know,
the bottom trough.
As more inventory comes on, it's not going to be that, you know, rates are a factor in the pricing anymore. It's going to be, how do I compare to the other pricing on the inventory that's available?
Well, and it's also, you're comparing it to what am I paying in rental pricing.
Right.
Like, can I buy this 1 bedroom roughly around the same price that I'm renting this? And, you know, we put on a studio last week and it went way over the asking price. And I wasn't expecting that at all. 5 applicants, everyone qualified, and it was literally 15 showings at the open house, and 1/3 of them placed an application. Okay, so I don't know where everyone's living. I don't know if they're living at home with their parents, whether they have roommates or something, but there is a lower inventory shortage. So that's the starter.
All right. Well, I have a quick article then to go through. Well, which one do I want to start with? In the Wall Street Journal, it says that TriBeCa is the new priciest neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did you see that article?
I
passed
read
on
it,
it?
but who was before them? Was it Soho? Because I thought TriBeCa was always the priciest.
No.
Who did they say was the priciest?
I don't know.
Did you read it? No. TriBeCa has always been
Why don't
the
you
prices.
guess? And I'll guess as well.
I would say it would be Soho.
Well, wouldn't it be Billionaires Row?
But if you're going by neighborhood, that's like Midtown, that you're kind of like doing just one row
Yeah.
instead of a whole neighborhood.
I agree.
But its price per square foot
I
was
would
like
say Soho,
close to like
NoHo, the
2,500,
places where you're
3,000.
going to, yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, and especially you have to have the idea of the neighborhood that's going to have the least amount of space at the highest price. So that's going to be the priciest neighborhood because they're going to do it by price per square foot. Why it's interesting that it went to TriBeCa is because the people who want to live in the city, they want it to be more spacious these days. That is something that COVID has changed completely. So now they're willing to pay more money, price per square foot, to live in a bigger apartment.
I also look at it as people that have money don't want to be in the center of things. If you think of, say, Hudson Yards, there's really not a lot around there. West Chelsea, not a lot around there. When it comes to transportation and just walking out and getting a coffee, like I was at my sister's friend's place and we had to walk about 2 to 3 blocks to get a coffee when I'm in the West Village and I have literally 5 spots within, but that's crowded. TriBeCa might be a little bit further away of the tunnel right there. So I think a lot of people maybe have cars that they're driving, or drivers are driving them. So I definitely see also, schools, people like, bringing that up. But talking about bringing it back, Tampa Bay, a place, Tampa Bay, Jacksonville, Tallahassee, all these places in Florida.
Florida,
Yeah, within Florida, that people kind of, swept under the rug. Listen to this. Tampa Bay needs affordable housing, which is kind of wild because you talk about New York City. And then the title continues, why do luxury condos dominate? Okay, in the past 5 years, rents have risen 40% in the last 5 years. That's in Tampa Bay. In St. Petersburg, that's 36%. So, and then more than half of the multifamily housing projects that have been started or completed are advertised as luxury or high end. So out of the 64, 32 or more were said as high end or luxury. So my opinion behind this is that it's so expensive to build, materials are expensive, labor is expensive, that it's almost impossible to make any money on mid-tier, say, multifamilies in these very competitive areas. Like
what they have to do is make it so that it's like a mix.
Yeah,
like
which they kind of went away with.
Yeah.
That was part of what I said, is that there's no incentive for developers. Condos had incentives of tax abatements. So they were like, that offsets the cost, and then also, you build a park with the building, there's give and take with it. You have, say, low or medium income housing within this high-end luxury building, but they pretty much gone away with it. And the last thing I'll say is that you had an article that 30,000 rent stabilized or controlled apartments are empty because there's no incentive to renovate and then put it to free market. Like you'd renovate it and then you'd lose.
You can't put it to free market. That's the problem.
So you'd lose money.
They need
That's
to repeal those laws.
Yeah.
Lots of
30,000.
Lots of people fighting over that type of stuff. New York just can't seem to get in the.
But by the way, this is, I think, going to continue because, I've said it privately here in the offices, but there's a lot of people that aren't getting roommates, or they're not, maybe even couples aren't even living together. So there's just a lot of single people that are living in these homes. And it'll be interesting going forward. I don't see any housing shortage, like I see that continuing.
Yeah, oh, definitely. And, you're exactly right. With labor costs going up, material cost, everything like that. I mean, just in general, permitting and projects here in New York City is
I have to use union. Yep.
It's
the inspections,
to do the
the
landmark
DOB.
commission. Think about all these things that
crazy.
you have to go through. It becomes more timely, which is more expensive.
Yep.
It's
Nobody wants to do it.
It's a big pain. Nobody wants to do it. That's exactly right. My article might get you excited, Charles.
Yay!
Perks rise for buyers and brokers who are willing to make the deals, who are able to make the deals, I guess, because that's talking about how 46% of sellers have recently offered a gift with the sale.
Wow.
Have you gotten a gift recently?
I haven't gotten any gift.
In New York, 1 of every 6 sellers offer a gift, averaging $5,000 to $10,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
An incentive.
So an extra incentive. It's kind of like
I might use that on my pitch
reminds me
today.
of rentals in yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
You have to give me a gift.
Yeah, we're going to Del Frisco's.
It reminds me of COVID, where they were willing to give you anything to rent an apartment.
4%
Yeah, it was
on the sale, and then the rentals,
yeah.
they would pay for the fees, double fees, whatever.
Yeah, they would do all sorts
anything.
of things. You get all these incentives to move in, and I would say that that's
And it worked.
Yeah, exactly. I would
Because
say
now
that
look at
that's a
rents
good
now.
sign.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, I would say that incentives incentivize, and it's simple as that. So if a broker is maybe looking at 2 apartments and someone's giving a $10,000 or their new development or something else, like that's a big incentive, to
pay all their closing costs.
Yep.
I've seen a lot of developers in the city doing like mortgage buy downs.
they have to.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of high-end development that's available for sale. And it'll be interesting how they fare in the coming years.
We'll
if
see.
refis come, bank refis come, or, it'll be interesting. But this is all the high end.
I don't know. It's going to be tough to imagine the environment where there are refis. I mean, yeah, rates are going to go down, but when?
But when
that's
they're
going to be a long time.
Yeah. I would say it's going to be involuntary rate.
Cuts.
Exactly. Yeah, or
I mean, if we're in like a severe recession,
Yeah.
like what do you have to think about? What is going to make rates go down? So, yeah. Oh, good way
Eric
to,
has an alarm to end the show.
good way to end it. It's a phone call.
Oh, it's a
yes.
phone call. That's my alarm.
It must be a buyer or a seller willing to
Exactly.
incentivize.
They're watching this live.
You have to incentivize me to sell
Luxury
your
home buyer.
Anyway,
All right, well, we'll be back next week with more news on the counteroffer or connecting the dots. We will come back with 4 great articles. Hope you guys have a great week. If you have any comments, leave it below, and we will speak to you next week.